Welcome back to another video. Hope you're all keeping safe and well. This is another Spurs chat video. Where we're going to be talking about how we've been feeling this past week since the cup final defeat. Of course, let's talk about our new manager as well. Who is it going to be? Who will Daniel Levy appoint as the new Tottenham boss, and when will it be? And we will also be previewing the Sheffield United game, of course, Sunday evening at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, back in Premier League action, where Spurs, if things go our way, we could go up to 5th in the Premier League. I've got 3 very special guests. I've got Craig, who is a regular on this channel. Craig, how are you doing?
Not too bad, Chris. Bit better than last Sunday, but long may it continue. feeling good. Not too bad, thanks.
We've also got impressionist Darren Altman. Darren, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm drinking to forget. It's all good.
Well, you've been doing that all week, have you?
Yes, actually, yeah.
Oh, and we've also got Lee, the Dorset Spur. Do check out his YouTube channel. Lee, how are you?
Yeah, all right, I guess. Pretty much the same as everybody else. A bit calmer than I was last week, but getting through it.
Well, I'm going to go back to the cup final. Of course, losing to Manchester City. A lot of Tottenham Hotspur fans and a lot of general football fans expected Tottenham to lose the game and not win the Carabao Cup. I was one of those, stupid people to believe that Tottenham would do it and we would lift the cup. Very disappointed. I've been very, very sad and very down all week, I must say. Just the lack of desire and hunger, from the Tottenham Hotspur team and squad on Sunday. Craig, I spoke to you straight after that game on one of these chats. Very down. Everyone was extremely down. The way that Tottenham played, for me, they just didn't give anything. Ryan Mason said that he was very pleased with the performance and how the Tottenham team set out and played. You've had time to reflect on this last week. What have you made of this cup final?
Yeah, I was like you, approaching the game. I think we spoke the week before the game, and I'd gone from, when Mourinho was still in post to when he was sacked. And I think I said, I'd actually got more confident because he'd gone. And I remember saying in here that I thought the only way we had a chance of winning that final was to give Mourinho the boot. Didn't think for 1 second that Daniel Levy had pulled the trigger 6 days before the cup final. I was, very disappointed, obviously, straight after. It was actually good to come on here and vent, actually, so it wasn't too bad. It was a bit like therapy. But to be honest, now I've had time to reflect on it. I'm actually more annoyed about it than anything else, to be honest. It was mainly the team selection, if I'm honest, and the way Ryan Mason set us up. And I hate to do this to Ryan Mason and almost slag him off, because he's doing the job he's been asked to do. I think Daniel Levy's got him on the cheek, to be honest. If you're asking me cynically, I think that he just put him in post so he didn't have to employ a redknapp or somebody like that. So I think he's just slung Mason in. And I'm just surprised that, and like I say, annoyed that we didn't go a bit more attacking. I think not starting Gareth Bale was an absolute travesty. I just can't get over that myself. And just the way we were set up that day, at least I think all the fans would have been okay if we'd give it a go and lost 3-0. I know that sounds daft, but if you're going to lose 1-0, you might as well lose 3 or 4-0. It doesn't matter as long as you give it a go. And we just didn't give it a go. Everybody thought that we would get the attacking Tottenham back in that final and just, really, really take it to City. And if you go down fighting. And we didn't fight, did we? And that's the main thing for me. The way we set up and the players that were picked, I just didn't think was right. And as soon as that team lineup came out, my heart sank, to be honest with you, because I just thought, oh, here we go again. And from that moment, I wasn't confident at all. But just annoyed about that selection. I hope he goes a bit more attacking these last 5 games.
Darren, let's come to you. 6 days before the Carabao Cup final, Jose Mourinho was sacked. Were you surprised by that sacking? Were you pleased by that sacking? I know a lot of Tottenham fans were very, very happy about it. But when you think of Jose Mourinho's record of getting teams over the line, certainly in cup finals, was it poor timing for you? Would you have preferred Jose Mourinho in the dugout that day?
Well, listen, I'm sure that all Spurs fans will agree, even though he's got the moniker of having won everything, and his track record does speak for itself. We didn't like the style of football. As Spurs fans, we couldn't get on board with it. Yes, there was a period, I think it was until the West Ham 3-3 sort of capitulation, where we were playing good football. We were hitting teams on the break and no one could do anything about Harry Kane and Son, their telepathic passing. But as much as Spurs fans and myself wanted to see him go, you don't do that just before a cup fight. You've got to just say, okay, like you said, you know, no one is probably more equipped to take on Pep and beat a Pep team than Jose. It was nonsense. And like Craig said, you know, when we saw the selection, I thought, well, he's got to start with Bale and he's got to start with Dele and start getting a bit of, you know, enthusiasm back into the fold. He didn't, and that was a mystery. And then when we saw Harry Winks instead of Ndombele, I was watching it with my cousin, and we were scratching our heads. And he came, you know, we sort of came up with a conclusion that maybe he didn't want to go down, you know, play direct with Ndombele. He wanted Winks to sort of maybe spray balls and bypass the midfield. But then you think, well, then why didn't he play Bale? Because that would be the logical thing. You'd knock it out to Bale, and then it was all a farce. And I'm sorry, I thought we were lucky with the 1-0. I thought, you know, it could have been a lot worse, to be honest.
Darren, why do you think that Ryan Mason completely changed that starting 11 in that cup final? The likes of Ndombele and you know, didn't play. Harry Winks come in. You know, it was quite baffling, wasn't it?
It was baffling. I mean, you know, I'm not a master tactician by any means, but it was a strange setup. And not only the setup, but the manner of the defeat as well. I mean, Son, who we all love, you know, I mean, you know, we all revere him and worship him. But I mean, bless him, he was running through treacle. There was a couple of points, and I never call out Son. You know, I've got a number 7 with Son on the back, you know, Spurs shirt. But I was swearing, what are you doing? Players were going past him, and I just thought, I wasn't so much angry as upset that he was just getting rinsed and he didn't have that energy. You think that this was, you know, his one chance, you know, to do something with Tottenham, and it was baffling. It was quite bizarre to watch him. I don't know what any of you guys made of his performance, but it was just, like you say, it was the manner of the defeat that was just left me sort of scratching my head. If you go down and you go down swinging, fine, but to go down in that manner. Did we have 2 shots all game from outside the box? Was that some sort of stat, was it?
It was awful. It was awful stats. Darren, I was lucky enough to be at the game at Wembley.
Oh, I watched your blog, by the way. It's very good.
Thank you. And, you know, for me, it's the same players being upset when we lose the important games. Lucas Moura, very upset. Harry Kane, you could tell by his body language, very, very down. Of course, Heung-min Son on the floor in tears. I know we're going to get on to talking about players later on, but do you take any positives out of that final?
Not really. No. No. Sorry, you just can't. I mean, the only positive was it wasn't 5-0. How's about that for a positive?
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry.
That says it all, doesn't it? That does.
Lee, let's come on to you. Last night, I actually watched your YouTube channel. I watched your video of, you know, straight after the game of us losing to Manchester City. You were exactly like me. You weren't happy at all. You know, no fight, no desire. You know, you want to see the team, you know, going down with a fight. You know, how did you feel?
Well, I agree with Craig. You know, for me, it's the manner of the defeat. You know, I would have much rather lost 3-0 and really put an effort in than to lose that 1-0 without as a whimper. I mean, did they even bother to turn up? For me, it was a disgraceful performance, and I don't think anybody comes out with any kind of merit, to be honest, from Levy to Mason to the players. You know, for me, it was a complete farce. It's the one opportunity they've got to win, you know, okay, probably the 4th best cup around, but it's still a cup and it still takes us further forward. And you look at it and all these players are crying out for, you know, we want to be in the Champions League, we want to compete and blah, blah, blah. Well, there's your opportunity. But what did you do? Nothing. and it was an appalling performance, and I was just really, really, really disappointed with it, you know. And I don't normally do videos straight after the game because I get emotionally tied into it, so I try to give myself a day to think about it and to calm down and then look for the positives, as you said. But as Darren said, you know, the only positive thing out of that was that we didn't get absolutely smashed 5-0, and the game's over, you know, for another season. We ain't got to worry about it for another year. You know, for me, it was just appalling, and I can't. Well, even a week or so afterwards, I still don't feel any better about it. I'm still absolutely fuming with the way it went. You know, you look at the players that we've got there, and you should expect a lot more than we got. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand, you know, why there can't be a performance, you know, in a final. It just seems, well, it's baffling to me.
I completely agree with you, Lee. As I said, and before we come on live on here, you know, I've been very, very down this week about this cup final. And when you think back as well, our last 4 cup finals, Lee, 2009, a 0-0 draw, and then Manchester United beat us on penalties in the League Cup. 2015, we lost 2-0 to Chelsea. 2019, only 2 years ago, lost 2-0 in the Champions League final to Liverpool. And then, of course, lost 1-0. These last 4 cup finals, we haven't even scored. What is it with Tottenham and cup finals?
I honestly don't know. It baffles me, you know, when they work so hard to get there and they pick up all the hype and all the rest of it. And you know, we've got good players there. You know, arguably there's a really good squad within that. I mean, if you'd have said at the beginning of the season, this is our squad, I think most of us were fairly happy with the signings that we'd made and how we were looking and all the rest of it. And then, you know, you turn up at finals and there's just nothing in it. It beggars belief. If there was some kind of sense to it that you could put your finger on, then you know, we'd solve it. But I think that's the problem, that none of us really know what's behind it all. You know,
here's a thought, Lee. If all those finals, as Chris mentioned, different managers, what's the one redeeming connection running through the whole lot? What's been the one constant?
Daniel Levy, for me, the owners.
There you go.
Yeah, you know, and listen, I'm not one that's been on the Levy out, ENIC out bandwagon. I try to support the club and the structure that it is, because it's our club. But at the end of the day, if you're a manager looking after a business in the way he has, as well as you've got to separate the on-field from the off-field. For me, you know, off-field, yeah, new stadium, bragging rights over, you know, training facilities, all that kind of good stuff. But for us, that's all right as a business. But this isn't a business. This is football. This is about people. This is about our passion. You know, we live and die about football. We talk about it. We make YouTube channels. We tweet about it. You know, it's a whole day's experience. I come up from Dorset. We leave at stupid o'clock in the morning. We don't get home until late at night. We make a whole day of it because it's our passion for our club. And that, for me, doesn't transpose to the people that own it. They're just running it as a business, as an entertainment business. But I'm not getting entertained, you know. Yeah. And they asked me a week before they announced that we were in the Super League, this European Super League, to buy my season ticket. Okay, you know, the season ain't finished yet, but you want me to pay you £1,000 ready for next season, and I don't even know if I can get in the stadium yet. I don't know if we're playing Champions League football or whatever, but you want my money up front, and then a week later you're telling me, oh, we're pulling out of this crap league you've just paid £1,000 for to join something even different, you know, without any kind of consolation at all. It's just, for me, there's just a total disrespect for the fans, and that's what's kind of started to turn my opinion on the whole thing, you know, with Levy and all the rest of it. He's got to go from football purposes. He's got to move on, go back to business, you know, go and sell the naming rights, go and create new T-shirts or business ideas or whatever, and get someone else in there who wants to run the football as a football team, football club. Let's just move on, because it's just not going anywhere. And I don't think ENIC will come out, but it still needs some fresh blood in there. You can't spend 20 years managing a club where success is based on silverware and produce one cup in that time. Any other business, you'd have been out the door. sorry, but you would.
Lee, let me put this to you. When Ryan Mason was appointed as interim boss, Daniel Levy and the board must have thought and known at that time that we were going to be going into this Super League. They thought that we were going into the Super League. So then a European spot in the Premier League wouldn't have been important anyway. Or even if we won the Carabao Cup, it wouldn't have been important. If Daniel Levy and the board knew that the Super League wasn't going ahead, do you think that interim managerial appointment would have been different?
I don't think they'd have let Mourinho go until they've got something else sorted out. That's my view on it. I mean, it's a crazy decision. I mean, for me, if you're going to let Mourinho go, he should have gone long before he did. To dismiss the bloke 6 days before a final, what chance does that give Ryan Mason to try anything different from what's been happening? Because the players have been 18 months into a system that they've all been drilled in and all the rest of it. How is he going to come in and then just chuck something totally different in? So, you know, it puts him in a no-win situation, you know, at the same time. And I agree with you, Chris. Well, if what you're implying is what I think you are, is that if they thought they was going into the Super League, it wouldn't matter a toss. And that basically backs up the point that everyone's been making about a European Super League and what that does to the Premier League or any other cup competition, because you don't have to bother. You're just going to get £3 billion every year regardless. Thanks very much.
What I'm implying is when it was announced that Jose Mourinho had been sacked, and then it was announced that Ryan Mason had taken training, I thought at that point, in the next couple of days, we were going to have an appointment of an interim manager. I was very, very surprised. I thought that Daniel Levy would have something up his sleeve, and I've got no disrespect to Ryan Mason at all. I've met him a couple of times. He's a fantastic guy, fantastic footballing person, all of that. But to manage Tottenham in these remaining Premier League games where we do need European football, you know, for next season for a new manager to come in, and of course the cup final, you know, no disrespect to Ryan Mason, as I say, but I thought that a bigger name would have been appointed to take charge of that cup final, you know, for sure, because Tottenham needs silverware. We as fans need silverware. And, you know, I felt gutted after that Champions League final a couple of years ago, but I felt equally as gutted about this Carabao Cup. I know some people will laugh saying, yeah, but it's only a League Cup. What does it matter anyway? When you think of us not winning trophies in all this time as Spurs fans, it's not on, is it? We deserve trophies as the fans.
Yeah, I mean, and every fan will tell you the same for their own clubs, right? Every fan believes that their teams deserve silverware and all the rest of it. But when you've got a history, as Tottenham have, you know, the expectation's always been there. And I think the other thing around that is Pochettino, you know, it's been said many times, he kind of got us to a position where we started to believe again. You know, all through the 90s, you expected to get nothing. You know, and if you got to European football, you know, through the Toto or whatever, that was like, you know, wow, you know, we've done all right, we're progressing, and we was always a project progressing. Pochettino kind of turned that around, and they've built up an expectation, and Levy's built up an expectation. You know, he's done all this infrastructure stuff, not with an expectation of 8th place or 9th place or whatever. The expectation is that we're Champions League contenders, not just in it, but contenders to win it. You know, and for me, I think he thought the Super League thing's going to sort it all out. We can get to the end of the season with Ryan Mason. It doesn't matter about top 4. It doesn't matter about the cup, because we're going to be in a Super League where we'll get this money and it won't matter. And that's why he did it. Because I can't make any other sense out of sacking one of the most successful managers around that close to a final, right? You know, and I'm not saying that Jose Mourinho shouldn't have gone, because I think he should. I think, you know, after we went out of the Europa, he should have gone then. But that would have given time to have then got someone in of quality who had a bit of an idea about doing something different. Whereas this is all smacks of snap decision, you know, without any real consideration about what it means and what that's going to think. Because let's face it, you know, do we really think that we're going to get top 4? Do we? Because I don't. You know, I'm not looking at it and thinking it's still on, we're going to get it until it's mathematically not possible. Then of course you've got a hope. But at the end of the day, do we even deserve it the way this club's been run this season? You know, I mean, it's a joke.
Chelsea won 2-0 today, Lee, and Spurs are now 8 points adrift of the top 4. I think that the top 4 is off. I think that, you know, the best that we can hope for is a Europa League place. Craig, let's come to you. Ryan Mason, when he took charge as interim boss for the remainder of the season, were you surprised by that? And I know we touched on this on the video last week, but do you think that Tottenham would have had, you know, that bit more chance with Jose Mourinho in charge for you know, last Sunday's game?
God, yeah, it's difficult to I'm kind of feel like I'm being hypocritical, because you know my feelings on Mourinho. I got to a point where I wanted him out, and I actually said beforehand I want him out before the final. But as we got to that, you know, like I say, 6 days before, I thought, right, well, he's here now for the final, and you've got to support him. Of course you have. And I totally agree with what you were saying there, that I think Levy, the timing of it, you've got to look at the timing of it. And I think we've got it spot on. I think Mourinho thought, sod the cup final. I don't really care, to be honest. We're going to be getting 350 million once we go into this Super League. Nothing's going to stop that. And of course it did. 2 days later, it was dead in the water. And that kind of leads into why they gave Mason the job full time. But I think, interestingly, I think they gave him the job till the end of the season after the Super League collapsed, didn't they? I think. I might be wrong in that. I think they did. But if that's the case, that might just be, and this is terrible to say, but wouldn't surprise me about Levy, that he's just trying to save money till the end of the season. Because obviously Ryan Mason's getting a wage anyway. He's probably give him a little sweetener anyway to say, look, run the team till the end of the season. But he's not going to be paying Ryan Mason as much as he'd pay, like I say, a Harry Redknapp or somebody like that to come in. And just while talking about the cup final, had Mourinho been in charge still, and had Mourinho picked the same lineup that Ryan Mason went with, although we're annoyed about the lineup anyway, can you imagine what people would have said if Mourinho got with that lineup? We've put in Winks in the team and not playing Bale. You know,
would never.
It's mental. It's mental when you look at it like that. So I'm reluctant to, like I say, slag off Mason, because he's put in an impossible position.
Yeah.
And you know, if by some luck we'd have won that final, and let's be honest, like you're saying there, I think Darren said, we were lucky to just lose 1-0. You know, City are all over us. But honestly, during that first half, the amount of chances they missed, I honestly thought, how many times have I seen football matches like this, even when Tottenham have been peppering teams and the other team goes up the other end and scores? And I thought, yeah, you know, second half, we actually might have a chance to nick this. And we held them for 82 minutes. All right, by the skin of our teeth. And yeah, we come out a little bit in the second half. But, you know, I just think I never felt massively confident we was going to do anything in that game. And that comes from the initial team selection and the way we set up.
Sorry to jump in, but I think the other issue around it, when you talk about Mourinho being the manager for that game, he wouldn't have made them substitutions either. And I think the substitutions he made were suicidal, you know, at that point, because the second half we actually started to look like we were gonna have a go, you know, and then he oiked off the 2 players that looked like they were gonna have a go. And I'm like, what are you doing?
That was mental, you know, taking more off. I could not believe he took more off. You could see it coming. But, you know, I think somebody else said in another video, I think Son's reputation kept him on the pitch. Because, you know, Sonny was, you was right about Sonny. He looked like he was running through treacle. And it was almost like lasagna gate all over again. I actually thought, Christ, has somebody been force feeding him lasagna before the game? Because I thought something's wrong with him. Why is he's not running? How can Sonny not be running? And all right, Kane didn't look his best, but there was something wrong, wasn't there? I don't know what it was. It was like they'd never played together before. There was misplaced passes. I think Carragher did a really good recap of the game on Monday Night Football. I watched it, I caught up with it, and it's exactly right. You know, where Winks and Højbjerg were almost hiding behind players, but to receive the ball from the centre backs or the left back or the right back, and you've got to make the angles. That's basic football, and they weren't doing it. That's why Dyer lost the ball. He had to go long, misplaced pass, and City get the ball back. So everything was wrong about that final, which is terrible. And going back to the 2009 final, do you know what, Chris? I must have wiped that from my memory, because I honestly can't remember a thing about that. God's honestly, I can't remember a thing about it. And yeah, perhaps I've wiped it from my memory, and perhaps that's where it should stay. But you know, for me, it's time that I I've got to a point now where I do hope a billionaire comes in, a Spurs man or at least a football man, to come in and offer Enoch some money for the club, because, like we said there, the one constant has been Enoch and Daniel Levy, and it's just not good enough. I think it needs a change top to bottom, and I would include Steve Hitchen in that, because obviously he's not doing his job as well as we'd like him to.
Well, let's talk about the possible candidates to replace Jose Mourinho as permanent Tottenham boss. Before we do, Darren, there's a question here from Bruce. What does Darren think Boris Johnson would be saying about the Tottenham manager situation?
It just so happened. No, I'm not going to do the full bit about that. He would probably say in times of crisis, one should stay negative and test positive. No way. That stay positive and test negative. That's it's easy to confuse the two. Yes, he would probably say that. I would.
Well, I'm glad
he's too good.
No, Darren. on a serious note, so many names are being bandied about at the moment. Nagelsmann, a lot of Tottenham fans wanted. He's now going off to Bayern Munich. Brendan Rodgers has come out publicly and said that he's not interested in the job. He's very happy at Leicester. Erik ten Hag, the Ajax manager, has just signed an extension until 2023. These are the main ones that were being linked with Spurs. There's a very, very long list. The bookies will keep putting all these names out. Who are you getting excited by at the moment?
Okay, so I am excited by one name, and you're right. There's a long list, and if Twitter is to believe, you'll be signing fucking Vanessa Feltz. But there was one name that crops up, and I didn't know who he was, so I did a bit of research, and it's Ralf Rangnick, and he used to be the head of development at Red Bull in Germany. And I was going down a YouTube rabbit hole, and I even found this sort of 10-minute analysis of his style of play. So you'll have to. I did have a sort of. So he's a proponent of this thing called Gegens pressing, whereby when a team loses a ball, instead of sort of falling back into their shape, they've got like an 8-second window where they've got to win the ball back. It's a real high tempo, really high pressing style of football, and he's very hot on zonal marking. He's credited for influencing Thomas Tuchel, Nagelsmann, and Jurgen Klopp, and I just think I got a bit excited when I watched this video, and I thought, my God, that sounds like revolutionary. This really high pressing and this analysis, you can find it on YouTube, looks unbelievable. Whether we'll get him or not, I mean, I heard Scott Parker and Chris, was it Potter from Brighton?
Yeah.
Oh God Almighty! Wow. I mean,
I agree with you. I completely agree with what you just said there, and that is exactly my reaction as well.
It's when a girlfriend says it's not you, it's me, and she breaks up with you, and your heart just sinks. That's when I thought that those two were in the offing. I thought, really, my stomach felt like I just split up with someone. It was awful. No way, please, Lord. It would be such a Spursy thing to sign. What's his face from Fulham?
Scott Parker.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It would be so Spursy. The prodigal son returns. Fuck me. Whew.
Do you know that bit in The Office when David Brent, in the first season of The Office, right at the end, the last episode, where those people come in he thinks he's going to be working with and say, we're not going to use you again. He goes, oh, fucking hell. That was my reaction. I could not believe. Talking about, I know there's fans out there that like Graham Potter's style, and I said on this channel I'd rather have Brian Potter. I said that before, and it just doesn't. Can you imagine Harry Kane getting excited? So, Harry, we got your new manager here. Oh, who is it? Graham Potter. Oh, okay. I'll go Man City. Thanks, Daniel. Graham Potter. Come on. No, but the other guy that you said, that Ralph
Rangnick. Rangnick.
Yeah. Oh, thank God for that. I thought you said Gregor's Raziak then. I thought I might see Diamond in back. But honestly, out of everybody, I totally agree, Darren and Chris there. out of all the candidates, when you look at his style of play, that excites me. I don't know what he's doing at the moment. I don't know if he's in management. I don't know if he's got a job anywhere. But that style of play, I think we all want that, and that's the main thing. The style of play, the high pressing, get the fitness levels back, and I think we've got a chance.
Lee, let's come to you. Graham Potter. I think we need Harry Potter. We need some sort of magician at the moment, don't we?
Yeah, we're talking about Ralph someone or other. I think we're probably more likely to get Ralph Little than anybody else. I can't.
He's a good player. He was a good player.
Yeah. He's and no disrespect to Ralph, he did some good stuff. But you know, in terms of manager, I don't think it matters. I really don't think it matters, because it all depends on what Daniel Levy does. Because it's all about Daniel Levy. It's not about the manager. I honestly thought that when he put Mourinho in, because I know he's been a massive fan of Mourinho, and I've said it many times, right? I thought he would be the one that he would splash the cash for, really spend the money and go all out and back him and all the rest of it. And with all due respect to Mourinho, I never wanted him in the first place, because he rips the heart and soul out of a club, and any fans of Man United will probably tell you that, right? Yeah. But at the same time, I respected his CV and all the rest of it. But for me, he always needed to get, top quality players at their prime, and Levy just didn't do that. So for me, I don't think it really matters who he gets as a manager. It depends on what his intention is once he gets one, But me personally, I think we'll end up with someone like Ralph Hasenhüttl from Southampton, or Nuno Espirito Santo, or someone of that nature, and then we'll go into a full blown to have another 5-year project. And I think that's the worry with people like Kane and Son and that. Do they want to hang around for another 5-year project? I don't think so. If you want them players to stay, right, and I want them to stay, right, because I want them to build a team of the quality of those two players, right? But is he going to do that? Is he really going to do that? And so for me, I think, Harry's going to have a real good look at it and go, you know what? It's time to move on, because time's running out for me to put a few things on the wall, because, all I'm going to get when I retire, if I stay at Spurs all the time, Spurs fans will love him, and we'll all lord over his loyalty and stuff. But in terms of overall football, they'll go, well, yeah, but you never won nothing. I know that's difficult.
Lee, you mentioned Harry. Sorry to interrupt you, mate. And there was a quote from him in the week, and I think if this is the direct quote, I thought his words that he chose were very interesting. He said, "I want to win a trophy with a club," and I thought if that is the actual words he used, that's really interesting. With a club.
Yeah, big difference from I want to win a trophy with Tottenham, which is what he's always said previously. But if you're Harry Kane, you've got to start thinking about it, haven't you? Really, at his age, you've got to start going, look, for whatever reason, it's not happening. I've been in 4 finals. I ain't scored a goal. I haven't won a trophy. Time's running out for me. Is it a Tottenham thing? And I need to go somewhere else to collect that up. Especially when you look at your mate, Kyle Walker with a armful of trophies under his belt, and let's be fair, as good as Kyle Walker was, when he left, I wasn't that sad when he left, because of the amount of errors he used to make and all the rest of it. But I mean, he ain't done bad out of it, has he? In a team like City. So you've got to respect him for that. So for me, coming back to the manager question, I really don't know. I really don't know, and it's making it difficult for me, because I'm just thinking it's all about what Levy wants, and I don't know. I don't know what's in his head. Is he hurting over the Super League thing not happening? Where are we with finances? Are we going to invest? Ain't we going to reinvest? Because the team needs a total overhaul. I mean, if you look at the players now in there, there's so many of them that you'd want to leave now. You look at them, you think, whereas a season or so ago, or under Pochettino, before it all started going bad, you'd have said, yeah, good players working, developing, all the rest of it. You look at a lot of them now, and you're thinking, time for them to move on. They haven't cut it, or they're not good enough, or whatever. And so the team needs a total overhaul, from my opinion. It's not just an odd player here and there that it needs. It needs a massive investment, massive.
But don't forget that when this new, kick-ass £1.2 billion stadium was built, yes, obviously, we got arguably the best stadium in the world now, but it was an investment for American football, the franchises, Lady Gaga, all the concerts. They're not stupid. It wasn't solely about football. It was, all of that came with it, and that's,
And that's why he's a great businessman, right? Because, you got Guns N' Roses and Lady Gaga and NFL and all this stuff going on. Fantastic. What a great way to think about it. You look at the bar area and fans being able to go in before the game, staying after the game and all the rest of it for a few beers and that. The money that's coming in from that revenue streams is exceptional. And that's down to Danny Levy in his vision and stuff. But I don't care about that. I'd rather watch them in Bournemouth's ground than in that stadium if we're not the challenge. Do you know what I mean? For me, it's not. I don't care about the stadium. I don't care how good the stadium is. I just wanted to go in and watch my team play. Couldn't care less if it was falling down. As long as my team on the pitch was doing the business, playing Tottenham way and winning silverware, I'd have been happy with that. But maybe that's just me,
Lee, going back to managers, if you could choose a manager to come in and start managing Spurs today, who would it be? If you could choose anyone.
Pep Guardiola.
Okay, perhaps a bit more realistic.
You said anyone.
He didn't say anyone.
You said anyone. He said anyone. So you've got to pick who's the best manager in the world in world football at the moment. It's got to be Guardiola, hasn't it? Who else is coming anywhere near? So it makes it really, really difficult because you look all around all these different leagues and stuff, but the Premier League is a different league. It's not an easy league for anyone to win unless you're spending mega money like City. You think the guy who took over at West Ham, who's named Pellegrini. Pellegrini won the Premier League with Man City. Yeah. And he was appalling at West Ham, right? So it just shows you the difference when you can spend the money that he can spend.
But look at David Moyes. By contrast, David Moyes, he was dreadful at Man United, and he's got West Ham so organised and the style of football and result after result. So it works the other way,
Yeah, but that was the same when he was at Everton. I always said that you measure your success dependent on what your team expectation is. At Everton, David Moyes did a brilliant job. He had them up there. He took them from a team that was always looking at relegation to getting up into the higher echelons of the Premier League and all the rest of it, stabilised it and all that sort of stuff. And that's how he ended up at Man United because of the consistency. I mean, you think he was 10 years at Everton? You don't spend 10 years in a job if you're not doing a decent enough job. It just depends on your perception of what is being achieved, what your standard is, So you can say it about anybody, and this is my point around. It doesn't really matter what manager you bring in if you're not going to spend the sort of money that you need to spend to compete with your Cities and your Chelseas and all that, then it really won't matter. You're trying to get someone to do the near on impossible. I mean, you look at all the cups, FA Cup, Champions League, League Cup and all the rest of it. The teams that are winning it, generally speaking, are the teams that spend the most money. You'll get the odd exception with a Portsmouth and and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, those clubs that have had the most success over the time spending all the money are the teams that are picking up most of the trophies.
Well, Lee, Poch took us to a Champions League final, didn't spend a penny in 518 days.
Did he win it?
Great. Pardon?
Did he win it?
Did he win it? We come very close. Very disappointing again. Craig, let's come to you. Matt writes here, has anyone thought about the Lille manager? Now, how important is it for you that Daniel Levy appoints a manager with proven Premier League experience? Or do we risk another foreign manager that has never managed in the Premier League?
That's a really good question, actually. Well, let's go back to Pep for a second. Now, he's managed Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Man City, correct? Now, they're not exactly small teams, and they're not teams that are shy in spending a few quid. So you could argue, I mean, no doubt Pep Guardiola is a brilliant coach, but you could argue, if Pep was suddenly in charge of, with respect, Barnsley or Burnley or somebody like that, how well would he do? You know, give him a championship team, tell him just a mid-table championship team, and tell him to get them promoted. I think that's where you earn your Spurs in many regards as a manager, you know. And people saying Scott Parker's a good manager. Looks like Fulham are going down. So, you know, has Scott Parker been supported in the transfer market? I think he's got that the loanee that we all like, the Anderson, I think's his name. Few good players in that Fulham team, but probably not many that would get into our first 11. Let's be fair. As for a manager that has got proven Premier League experience, I don't know if that is incredibly important. I really don't. All I do know is that I think whatever decision Daniel Levy is going to make, he's got to be the right one, and it's a massive one. I think it's possibly the biggest one he's ever had to make for a manager coming in, if I'm honest. If he gets this one wrong, then, you know, I don't know. What do Enoch do? You know, if he's got to get this one right, regardless, he's got to get this one right. And what Matt's written on the screen there, I'll be honest, I don't know anything about the guy, so I can't comment. So the only one, as I said before, the only one that's actually interested me out of the proven Premier League managers and the candidates that I've seen is the guy whose name I've forgotten and I can't pronounce. So it's him. That's the only one for me, other than Mauricio Pochettino. I'd have him back in a heartbeat, which is bizarre to think. But, you know, managers do go back to clubs, don't they? So, you know, stranger things have happened. And Poch could come out of this season. You know, they might not win Ligue 1 and they might not win the Champions League, which would be terrible for him. But, you know, I was cheering on PSG the other night, but that's purely because of Poch. But I'd have him back, and I know you would, Chris. And I don't know about you other two guys, but stranger things have happened. You never know.
Well, Craig, let me ask you this: when Jose Mourinho got the sack, if Mauricio Pochettino weren't managing PSG, do you think that would have been the time that he came back?
As I say, it's possible, isn't it? If he was out of work and Daniel Levy just thought, do you know what, I made a mistake. Would Daniel Levy say that? I don't know. I've never heard him say it was a mistake. We haven't even come out and said the Super League was a mistake. The only club that haven't come out and said sorry, basically. So you've got to bear that in mind. I just don't think Daniel Levy's got that in him. Would he even re-employ Pochettino now? Because that's basically is him saying, in a roundabout sort of way, even if he didn't come out and say it, that I was wrong. And he won't do that, will he? So, yeah, I think Poch, I mean, how good would that have been? I think that would have given us a lift, but I can't see it happening. As sad as it is, I can't see Poch coming back while Enoch are in charge and Daniel Levy's in charge. But it is amazing what fan power can do. You know, I think if enough fans wanted him back or a change, then would Joe Lewis look to sell? I mean, Kroenke's come out and said he's not selling Arsenal. You know, there's a lot of fan clamour to get that club sold, isn't there? But he's going to stand firm. He don't even go to games. He don't care. Money's coming in. He don't care. So they're businessmen, as we said at the end of the day. They're not going to care, and they're going to want to get a bit of money back. Are they? I don't know how much Tottenham Hotspur's worth. I don't know what they bought it for. I don't know how much it's worth. If anybody knows, you know, please say. But
Darren rightly said that stadium is a money-making machine, and they haven't really had that money-making machine time yet, have they? You know, as soon as the fans are back to the stadium at full capacity, you know, they will be making their money. So it'd be very interesting to see if they are still there, whether they would be investing on the pitch. But Darren, let's come to you now. You go from, you know, a real fan's favourite, Mauricio Pochettino, who I just said, 518 days, he didn't spend a penny, took us to the Champions League final. I thought he was on the verge of success at Spurs. You know, very, very sad that it didn't work out for him. You then bring in a serial manager, you know, serial winning manager in Jose Mourinho. You know, two very different managers. If you can't win with Pochettino and you can't win with the serial manager, the special one, Jose Mourinho, what type of manager is coming next? What type of manager do we need next?
Oh, fucking hell. I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, and you are right. And maybe this isn't the answer, but maybe you need, like we've said, the board and the chairman to go to get that investment and to get, you know, and to give us the lift in a transfer window where you're not waiting to the last moment and pinch pennies, where you're not spunking out, you know, the bail money on fit players that aren't fit, you know, Soldado and all the rest of it. You know, you want someone that sees what they want and go for it and got their hand in their pockets and puts us at the front and center of signings, and a manager that, you know, has got players at his disposal. I mean, yes, Jose, when he first signed for us, said, when he first took over, said, you know, I see great players and I see real potential in the club. Well, it probably took him a couple of weeks to decide that, you know, probably saw Aurier on the training field and, you know, and Harry Winks and, oh, Jesus Christ almighty, what have I done? But I mean, I you know, and you won't like me saying this, but we're a bang average club. That's what we are. You know, we're glory Tottenham Hotspur in name only, really. And as and you know, as I said on a Spurs chat a couple of days ago, you know, winning, you know, our last 2008 and then previously 1991. You know, the generation now they've grown up without seeing us winning any trophies. You know, as expressions would say, you know, that's Pathé News business, that's black and white business. You know, I mean, it's we need something at the moment, and we need to get a stability, and we need to get a style of play, and you know, for the modern era, that's what we need. And in answer to your question, it's a very long-winded way of saying I think that the fault lies with Daniel Levy. I think as long as he's at the club, maybe no matter what manager you bring in, they're not going to have the tools to do the job. And certainly the players at the moment, maybe even if you did bring Ragnick in, you know, unfortunately, we're just not equipped at the moment to fight for that top four and to be consistent with what we've got at the moment. Sorry, that was a very rambling answer to a convoluted.
No, that's fine. Darren, when you think back though, when Mauricio Pochettino was appointed as Spurs boss, obviously come from Southampton, you know, a lot of Spurs fans, they weren't exactly bowled over by that appointment, were they?
Very true. Yeah. But I mean, he got the way we played, and it was, you know, and it was exciting, and it was, you know, it was attacking football, and you know, he sort of got on board with the Tottenham Hotspur ethos, and that's what excited us. You know, we were seeing, you know, even when we didn't win, we were seeing great, exciting games, high-scoring games. But you know, Jose's disappointment, it's just taken us back. We're regressing again.
Lee, let's come to you.
Point.
A couple of names, Lee, that I keep seeing on lists. Maurizio Sarri, of course, managed Chelsea. He's 6-1 at the moment with William Hill. Nuno Espirito Santo, who you mentioned earlier, he's also 6-1. Would you fancy either of those at managing Tottenham?
I definitely wouldn't want Sarri, if I'm honest. I've had enough of being linked with Chelsea rejects, to be honest with you. I really couldn't be putting up with that. I got, you know, Nuno, I think to a certain extent, I think gives me a little bit of hope, only in the fact that I've seen the way he's played and the passion that he gets from his players and all the rest of it, and I like him as a person. So that probably is why I would edge towards him. And I think, but I mean, is that the exciting leadership that you want, that's going to bring the greatest players to the club? Is that what's going to make Harry Kane say, yeah, you know what, I can see us getting somewhere now? I don't think it is. You know, and again, it still for me comes back to the same story as Darren said. It's about giving them the tools to do the job. And you made the point, Chris. If we can't win trophies under one of the best managers we've had since Keith Burkinshaw in Pochettino, okay, you know, and I loved Poch. I got confused about him at the end with some of the stuff he did. Right, and it wasn't all roses, to be fair, but I liked what he stood for. I liked him, his ethos and his professionalism and all that kind of stuff. You can't win trophies under him, a guy who's clearly popular with his players. So you bring in a bloke who wins things wherever he goes, and he can't win anything, then that says that the problem is deeper than that. And I think, Craig made the point about would Pep Guardiola win trophies and get promotions with Barnsley or whatever. Well, I think the Mourinho analogy coming to Spurs, a team that's not won trophies for so long, if anyone can win trophies there, it's going to be Mourinho. He came in and he didn't. That kind of answers that question for me. If you're not given the right tools to compete and to do the job, then it doesn't matter how hard you work as a person, as a manager, it's not going to happen for you. And so it all comes back. And I'm sorry to bang on about it, and I hope this isn't boring for everybody else. But for me, this is about the infrastructure of the club and where we go from here. What is ENIC and Daniel Levy prepared to do now? Because you cannot have this club fester mid-table and all the rest of it and still get the Asian market, which is where all the additional money is. They'll soon move on to the next team that Sonny goes to, if that is the case.
The whole Bale thing was, sorry, I'm changing, just talking about the tools to do the job. The whole Bale thing was, have you discussed that on your chats, Chris? Wasn't that fucking bizarre? Like a massive marquee signing, and he's injured. He needs fitness. He needs fitness. 6 months down the road, he still needs fitness. I mean, it's just, that was meant to be like, that was meant to be the one, to. Oh.
I'll tell you what, Darren, you're brave dissing Gareth Bale while Craig's on here, because Craig's a big fan of Gareth Bale.
No, I'm not dissing him. I'm not dissing him. I'm saying the fact that he wasn't played and it was excuse after excuse after, and they were bringing him on and taking him off and not playing him and bringing him on for 10 minutes. I mean, it was just bizarre. I mean, I just wanted him, as soon as he was back fitness, you start him. You start him because he's such a talent. That was another feature of Jose's appointment or tenure at Spurs, which was just bizarre.
But don't you think that smacks of Daniel Levy making some money rather than Jose Mourinho saying, go out and get me Gareth Bale? It smacks of a marquee signing, keep the fans happy, I'm bringing your hero home and all the rest of it. And then he can sit on the bench and do nothing because Jose ain't really that bothered about him anyway.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Like you said,
that is bizarre, isn't it? The whole thing. The Bale situation is bizarre, because if that is the case and Levy wanted him and it wasn't Jose, then what's the point of bringing him back, having him on the bench? All the fans are going to be turning around and saying, why is Gareth Bale on the bench? We all sat at home, I'm sure, over the summer before the talks of Bale coming back and said, God, can you imagine having a front three of Kane, Son and Bale? And then all of a sudden, all our dreams came true. Bale's coming home. And then all of a sudden you've got it there and you think, okay, he's injured. Okay, we get that. We know he had a knee injury, but he had the 2 weeks over the international break to get fit. He did look rusty, admittedly. But then when he did hit the ground after the new year in February, when he was given the chance, let me say, when he was given the run, God, in my opinion, we produced some of the best football all season in those 4 or 5 games. He has a shocker in the North London derby along with the rest of the team, and then he's dropped. I'll never understand that. I'll never understand it.
No, I agree with that totally.
A very interesting point on screen now. You're all living in cuckoo land. Tottenham are currently a bang average team, and fair play to Darren. Darren's already said that on this chat so far. Which manager in their right mind would want to join us? I'm going to throw that one at you, Darren. You've said that we're a bang average team, and I think that's probably why I felt so down this week. Because I'm coming to terms with, Tottenham are not so great as I probably thought.
Yeah, well, listen, when I get emotional, my voice goes about an octave higher, so I'll try and okay, I'll answer this with a bit of gravitas, gentlemen.
I'll be 2 seconds, guys. Sorry, I've just got to pop. I'll be 2 seconds. You carry on.
Yeah, he's got the call to manage the fucking team, hasn't he, Craig? He's okay. What manager would want? I mean, Jose said that, he saw promise. He looked at, the nuts and bolts of, your Kane, your Ndombele, your Son, Alderweireld, great players. And he saw promise. So maybe that you would think that I mean, obviously, if you're looking at Graham Potter and Scott Parker, they would probably jump at the chance because we're Tottenham, you know, like it's a massive step up. But in terms of a world-beating manager, maybe, you know, maybe someone who would have the same understanding as Jose did and sees a great deal of promise, but a completely different style, the antithesis to his shut up, stop, you know, get them on the sucker punch, the break style. So maybe you could just hope that that it would be a manager that sees the promise and can really think that if he can get our Son and Kane and Ndombele and all these players to stay with us, then they would move forward. But I mean, as the other thing is, you'll probably know better than me, guys, on this. But as Levy got that much of a bad reputation that he could be a stumbling block to a manager signing, because I said the other night that Alex Ferguson said that when they were negotiating the sale of Berbatov to Manchester United, he said he caused him more pain than having a hip replacement dealing with Daniel Levy. So maybe he's the stumbling block. You know, maybe that they'll think that as much as they love, or they would want to come to a club like Tottenham and really drive us forward and push us where we want to be, they just don't want to deal with the chairman. I mean, I'll put it to you lot. I don't know.
Well, let me say this to you, Darren. Take Brendan Rodgers, for example, Leicester City manager. You know, they're about to get into the Champions League for next season. You know, if you were Brendan Rodgers, would you want to join Tottenham? You know, a number of Tottenham fans have said, yeah, well, of course, go out and get Brendan Rodgers because, you know, Tottenham's a bigger club than Leicester. Although Leicester have won the Premier League, although Leicester are getting in the Champions League for next season and we're not. You know, if you were Brendan Rodgers, how would you see it? Would you see you know, going to Tottenham as a better move, or would you stay at Leicester? Is he making that right decision?
He's got a great team. They've got an ethos. They've got a style of playing, and you know, they're not Manchester City, they're not Manchester United, but whatever he's doing with them, they're all on board. From what we can see, watching that team, they're great to watch. And like I said, maybe he would think going to Spurs is tempting, but frankly, it would be a headache. You know, I'm going places with this team. This team is, you know, that they're on board with what I want to do with them. There's, you know, we're top four. Why, you know, we can only push up. So I mean, I don't blame him. Maybe he thinks that, you know, he's starting from scratch and he can't be bothered to start from scratch again. Maybe he just thinks, no, we're doing fine here. We're making good progression.
Lee, let's come to you. How do you feel as a Spurs fan when you see reports? You know, many of them have been published in the last couple of days. Certainly, the likes of Graham Potter being linked to the Tottenham's manager's job, Roberto Martinez, Eddie Howe, Gareth Southgate, Jurgen Klinsmann. Any of those names excite you?
I think, you know, the guy who put the comment up about, you know, what are you smoking, you know, and all that, we're bang average. I don't think any of us believe that we're better than we are. I think most of us knew that, but because it's your club, you don't want to believe it, right? So we all live in the past histories of our club. You know, some of us have been lucky enough to see us win cups and stuff like that, right? So for us, you know, you keep it in there. But Graham Potter and Martinez and Southgate, they're probably our level at the moment. They're probably the people that probably would be interested. If you asked a question about Brendan Rodgers, right? And I'm not a fan of Brendan Rodgers. I don't particularly like the guy, but if you're Brendan Rodgers, he's done so much hard work to get that team to where it is. He can probably look at that team and go, you know what, we're getting into the Champions League. We've won the league before, so it's not, you know, there's still the opportunity there. I've only got to go another step or whatever. So you can probably see the progression of where he's going to get to or what he can do. You look at Tottenham and you go, I've got a chairman who won't spend any money. I've got fans whose expectation of their club is higher than where it probably is. You know, they've gone from a really likable manager to a manager who's supposed to be able to win everything. If he couldn't do it, what makes me think that I can do a better job there? You know, listen, he may be thinking to himself, I can do better than Mourinho, right? So I'm not suggesting that he doesn't believe in himself, but you know what I mean? That point. So if I'm Brendan Rodgers sitting there, I'm going, you know what? I'm in the Champions League. You know, this team's got a little bit of history and all the rest of it. And how sad is that for us as Tottenham fans to look at Leicester? As much as you don't want to believe it, Leicester are a better club than us. They've got more recent history than us. They're doing better than us, right? So we can sit here and we can go, oh, we're great and we love Tottenham in exactly the same way as those guys down the road do about their club, because they love their club and they believe in their club. But they're going through the same scenario. We are making ourselves look ridiculous by overhyping ourselves. And I think people like Gareth Southgate and Graham Potter and that, with all due respect to those guys as people, right? That's probably the level of guy that would want to come to our club at the moment, you know. And I do believe, and I know I've said it, and I'm sorry if I'm making it boring, but Levy for me is going to be a stumbling block, because those guys have got to be able to get on with him and got to know what they're going to get from him. And if he goes up to him and says, listen, you know, you're coming in, I need you to rebuild the team in terms of, you know, pulling them together and creating this feeling of unity and all the rest of it. But I'm not going to give you nothing. I'm not going to give you any money. You know, you've got to turn what you've got to get us to where we need to be, because that's what he'll probably say to them. So why would you want to take that on? Why would you? You know, because if, like you say, if Mourinho and Pochettino can't get the best out of Dele Alli, can't get that guy playing decent football, and if they can't get on Dombele to do well, what chance has he got? Especially when you look at the back line and you've got Serge Aurier there, you know, you look at him and you must be going, Jesus Christ, how do I make him better? You know, so yeah. You know, that's it. And I'm sorry, I know I'm the negative one on the show today, and I you know, but I mean, it's just how I feel about it. I'm just so passionate about my club, but I want the people that own it to be as passionate about my club as I am, as we are.
Yeah,
you know, I want them to care. I want them to hurt. And then I don't think they are. And you look at the players laughing and joking and saying how great Dele Alli's haircut is. I couldn't give a monkeys about Dele Alli's hair. I think he looks ridiculous. But I mean, that's his choice. Fair play to him.
I'd rather his hair than mine, to be honest.
Yeah, and mine to be fair, but you know, I couldn't pull it off. But you know,
can I just say that as we're talking here, I've got the league table up. Fulham are third from bottom. They're about to be relegated effectively. Brighton won today, but they're 1 point off the relegation zone. And they're the two managers that we're linked with. So what does that tell you about Tottenham Hotspur? I mean, it's embarrassing, really. It
is embarrassing. You know, but we've got to until we realise it and say, look, this is how far we've fallen, you know, in last season, because Mourinho has just dragged us back. You know, he's ripped the heart out of the club. We're playing crap football. There's no belief in him. The only players who really believed in him seems to have been Kane and Son. I don't think any of them ever. The rest of them came out and really could be that bothered about him. I think Moura put a post up or whatever. But apart from that, you haven't seen anything from anybody else kind of saying how much he did for them or anything of that nature.
Lee, I haven't noticed that you've been negative today. You're just speaking from the heart, and you know, like I said many times on tonight's video, I've felt very down this week as well. We all want the glory times back, and as I said before, we all want the trophies as well. Craig, let's come to you. You know, other names on the list: Benitez, Allegri. Allegri has, of course, done very well at AC Milan before and Juventus before. Any of those names excite you?
Not really. I think Allegri's a totally different style of football anyway, isn't he? He's a bit more pragmatic, a bit more in the Mourinho mould than the Poch mould, to be honest. Benitez doesn't really excite me. I know they liked him at Newcastle, but he doesn't really excite me. I think it goes kind of back to what Lee was saying. If a manager does come in and they're not going to back him, you're looking almost to hire an alchemist, aren't you? Because you know, if he's going to have to work with the players, that's surely got to be on the stipulation. So you've got to give me money to spend, because you've got to be expected to turn these players into gold again. And I just honestly think there's just not enough there. Even the best manager in the world, whoever that is, I think we need investment in that squad. It's so clear as day. We need the investment, and whatever manager comes in, Chris, I just think it's going to be a tough job without money. And I hate to talk about money in football. You know, it shouldn't be about that, but let's face it, it is. It is. It's about getting the best players in. Exactly. It's where we are, and we've seen time after time there's certain signings that haven't worked. Talking about signing people and recruitment, I think the one person we should go for is the Leicester person who actually who goes out and finds these players they find, because he is doing a good job. You've got to look at the little bits of business they've done and the players they've brought in that nobody's probably heard of, and yet they are gold. You know, they've got them ticking, and you can't tell me that Brendan Rodgers is a better manager than a Poch or somebody like that. You know, and yet, you know, the players they've been bringing in and the way they've been just gelled into this unit almost takes me back to how it was under Poch. And I think the disconnect between the fans, the management and the board at Tottenham Hotspur is the widest gap. I've known it for years and years and years. And as I've said many times, I've lived through the 90s and watched the utter crap we were served up week and week and week. You know, hoping Teddy Sheringham stays. He wanted to stay, but then Man U come in with a 4-year contract or something, and we would only give him 3 or something. And then he comes back at the end of it after he's won everything. I mean, you couldn't write it, could you? But, you know, as for managers, all I will say is the next decision, as I said before, it's got to be the right one, and it's a massive one. It's a massive decision.
Sadly, Craig, the whole Teddy Sheringham saga of him leaving and then coming back, it's just got Harry Kane written all over it for me. Harry Kane to leave Spurs, sadly, and then perhaps come back and beat Jimmy Greaves' record and then perhaps win an FA Cup or something. But, you know, hoping it's not going to happen. Before we move on to talk about Harry Kane and the Sheffield United game, I just want to get just one answer from each of you, who you want to see as Tottenham Hotspur manager, you know, the next one, because a few people have been asking me what my opinion is and who I want in. I've got to say, I don't think any of these names really do excite me. If I had to pick one, I'd choose Brendan Rodgers, because I think that, you know, what he's done at Leicester City, what he's done at other clubs as well, you know, I think he's done a decent job, and I think he could do a decent job at Spurs. But as all three of you have said, you know, need investment and need backing. Whoever is the next manager, we need backing. Darren, let's quickly just give me an answer who you want to see as the next Spurs boss.
Like I said, this Ralph Rangnick looks, just his style of play looks really offensive, and it's exciting. Whether he can do it at Tottenham, who knows? Yeah. Lee?
I say bring back the general. Let's have Keith Birkinshaw back, because I reckon he'll be able to do a better job than these lot that are out there. No, I'd go along with what Darren said. To be fair, I think, you know, I've seen some stuff about this guy, and he sounds like our sort of manager. But whether he'd be able to do it depends on the backing. That would still be my issue with it. You know, I want to see someone come from somewhere else who's got a bit of something about him that can surprise people. So for me, probably the guy that Darren's talking about.
And Craig?
Yeah, I'd probably go for that Rangnick fella, to be honest with you. I know very little about him other than what I've seen bits and pieces on the internet about him. What Darren's actually said tonight, actually, it does fit the mould. It kind of fits the type of football that I'd like to see us playing again. So it might be different. It might be new. Never managed in England before. But that's not to say that those methods won't work. I think we all know they do work. But yeah, again, he would need backing. So, you know, we're at a pretty low point at the moment. I refuse to believe it can get even lower. So I would go for him if it was my choice. Out of the ones left, you know, I wanted the guy from RB Leipzig, but, you know, it seems like as soon as anybody's ever mentioned with us, that's the other embarrassing thing, isn't it? As soon as somebody's mentioned with us, they go and sign a new contract. So I don't want nothing to do with Spurs. That's the embarrassing thing.
Yeah. Darren, you touched on this subject earlier about Harry Kane, another individual award. He won the London Football Award Player of the Season award. And of course, he come out and said that I want to be winning team trophies. Now, we've got 5 Premier League games left. Do you think that that is going to be Harry Kane done at Tottenham? Will he move on in the summer?
Well, I won a Bagger award for doing a forward roll when I was 10. It doesn't make me a fucking gymnast, does it? What was the question? Sorry, I got my mind. Sorry.
Do you think Harry Kane will leave in the summer?
Oh, God almighty. I mean, if we get top 4, let's hypothesize. If we get top 4 and get Champions League, maybe he thinks it's a good enough reason to stay. If we don't get Champions League, if we get out the top 4 and we get another season and clubs come knocking, then who can blame him? And I don't think there is a Spurs player, a Spurs fan on the planet that would begrudge him leaving. We would all wish him well and send him our love, and you know, and off he goes. But who knows? I mean, you can only have one more season. Oh, I'll give it one more season. I'll give it one more season. I'll give it one more. How many times can he do that? You know, is he 27, 28 now? 27?
Yeah. It's you know, he wants to be winning trophies. You know, surely you're a professional footballer. You want to be winning trophies. You know, like Lee said earlier, Kyle Walker left Spurs. Within 6 months, he'd won the League Cup. You know, since then, he's won Premier League, you know, trophy after trophy with Manchester City. It must be very, very frustrating for some of these players, particularly Harry Kane, when he sees certain players moving on and then they go and win trophies elsewhere.
Could you imagine the banter on the training ground of the England, you know, when they all come together, you know, how are you doing, Carl? Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, had a pretty good season. You know, how are you doing, Harry? I would rather not talk about it, to be honest. You know, a bit upsetting, but yeah.
Lee, it must be, you know, it's frustrating for us fans, but, you know, like Darren just said there, you know, go into the England setup, you know, meeting your teammates, and they're all talking about winning trophy after trophy after trophy, and Harry Kane has still yet to win a trophy at Spurs. It must be very frustrating for him. As a Spurs fan, do you think he will still be here next year?
I don't think he's going to be there next year. I think this is, as Craig said earlier, I think this is a pivotal point in Tottenham now. The next managerial appointment will be key. Whether we get top 4 will be a big ask. So for me, I think that's what's going to be playing in Harry's mind. You know, because let's face it, he'll turn up at England training. He'll get absolutely bantered left, right, and centre by because they're all young guys, right? And we know what guys are like. You know, they're all going to be ripping each other to pieces and that. And Harry's going to get rinsed. You know, and no one wants that. You know, it'll break my heart to see him go off to another club. You know, if he goes to Man City, then you know that'll probably be the only. That would be. I'd kind of be okay with that because I know why he's going there. You know, Chelsea, I think I'd hate to see him go to somewhere like Chelsea or Man United. If I'm honest, I'd much rather see him go to City than anywhere. But personally, if he's going to go, I'd rather he went abroad, bagged a load of silverware in Spain or Italy or in any of them kind of lower leagues. But I personally don't think he'll be there because I don't think Levy's going to break to being the best manager, and I think he's going to look at it and go, you know what, at my age now, I can't afford another 5-year project and hope that I'll pick up an FA Cup or a League Cup. So I think he'll go.
Craig, what are you thinking? Because, you know, do you think that Harry Kane is thinking, well, if we get a Champions League place for next season, then I'll stay? Is it about that Champions League place? Is it about trophies? You know, Gavin writes on screen now, think about how this season has played out and the points dropped from leading positions. If we had half them back, we'd be 2nd or 3rd easily. It's very frustrating, isn't it? Oh,
it is massively. And yeah, he's dead right. 2nd or 3rd easily, and we wouldn't even be having the discussion about Champions League. Personally, I think Harry Kane, you might call him mad, I think he's going to stay. And I think he's kind of a victim of the contracts he signed and the fact that we've got a complete arsehole as a CEO, because I don't think Daniel Levy's going to let him go. I think he puts the price on his head, 150, 200 million. If you think Neymar, or I might get pelters here, but I think Neymar's overrated, to be honest. 198 million quid he went for. Harry Kane's got to be up there with the Neymar. I know we've got the COVID situation, but minimum 150 million. Who's got 150 million to spend? And Daniel Levy, remember, has got to be willing to sell him. You know, they've got to be willing to sell him. What is interesting, he's not come out and said Harry Kane's not for sale. You know, he's not said that, has he? So that's interesting. I was listening to Kane's words in the week very, very closely, and I don't think it's as cut and dry as some people think that he's going to go. He's very professional, Kane, isn't he? He'd never come out and say, I want to leave and that's it. I wouldn't expect him to. He didn't completely write off his Spurs career, but he didn't commit to it. And I think he's just being clever in the way that he said, like he said last summer. You know, I'm not one to, he said last summer, I'm not one to hang around just for the sake of it, I think were his words. And it's kind of a warning shot across the bows of the board to say, look, I could go. But then again, he's tied down for another 2 or 3 years. Bearing in mind he is 28 in the summer. You know, are you going to take a risk on him, Man City, when you could get a Haaland, somebody for perhaps less? You know, yes, Kane's a proven Premiership goal scorer. You know, if he goes to Man City, you know he's going to get goals galore. And with Aguero going, they're going to be in the market for another centre forward. But are there cheaper options that are younger out there? And that's, you know, Harry Kane ain't spring chicken anymore. He's not old by any stretch, don't get me wrong, but he is the peak of his career. And the only way it's going to go after the next couple of years, he's down. The numbers are going to drop. You saw it with Shearer. You saw it with all the other players up there. You've seen it with Aguero. Now he's hit 30, I think. So, you know, the numbers are going to drop off. They're not going to get a return on the investment. And if you're talking 150 million for Harry Kane, is that a wise investment?
But playing devil's advocate, as we've seen the last season, his positional play has been completely different, and it's probably as valuable to a team to have him drop back into the link-up play and to set up goals and have assists as it is at getting goals.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think the money thing. I think if you were talking about other clubs, I'd say, yeah, you know, who's going to want to spend 150 million? But I think a team like, or a club like Man City, I think it's a case of, you know, you're going to get the England captain, you're going to get big. You know, I think the fans love him. I think they'd love him up there because we all love him because of what he does and everything. But you know, they would be the only ones for me that would pay that sort of money for him. And I think Levy would sell if he could get the money for him. I think he would.
For Kane,
that's the sort of bloke he is.
Absolutely. I think for Kane though, he's going to have to be asking himself questions. He's going to be battling with himself internally because there's no doubt in my mind he loves Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that winning something with Tottenham would mean 1,000,000 times more to him than winning it with Man City. You know, I
agree with that as well. Yeah,
you know, that's what you got to think about. You got to think about his family. The family, they're all from round here. I think his missus, his family is all from round the area where they live. So moving the whole family kit and caboodle up to Manchester, if that's where he was going, for example, it's a big thing. You know, you think these millionaire players, they can get a helicopter back down. It's not quite the same. You know, he's got a young family. He's got to think about that. Is he happy at Tottenham? He basically rules the roost, doesn't he? He's a very hard-working professional guy. Of course he is. He doesn't get in the team just because he's Harry Kane. He works on it. Anyone you speak to or listen to will tell you how professional he is, how hard-working he is. And yeah, he's a model professional, really, isn't he? Absolute model professional. Will he want to sacrifice what he's got at Tottenham, albeit no trophies? Is he going to want to sacrifice everything he's got just to win a trophy? I think that's what you've got to ask yourself, and only Harry Kane will know the answer to that.
Yeah,
I guarantee if he leaves this summer, if he doesn't leave this summer, I think he'll be with us till he retires. Because I think talking about pivotal moments, this is a pivotal summer, as you say, for Harry Kane. If he doesn't go this year, I think he's with us for good.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that, and that's the point really. He's got to make that decision now because in a season or so's time, he's not going to be in the same position. Every time I talk, the dog barks. Shut up! Bloody thing.
Right, let's get on to previewing the Sheffield United game. Of course, takes place Sunday evening at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 7:15 kickoff. Team news: Ben Davies remains the only player injured and out for Spurs. We of course beat Sheffield United earlier this season 3-1 at Bramall Lane with that Ndombele very special goal. We haven't done a league double over them since 1976. Now, as we all know, Sheffield United are already relegated. They've played 33. They've only won 5 games. They've lost 26 out of 33 Premier League games. Darren, let's come to you first. Surely we're expecting a win.
They've lost 4 out of their last 5 games, Chris. They're down. And if we cannot beat Sheffield United, then there's no hope. If we cannot beat them, then what are we doing?
It's written in the stars. It's written in the stars. Now you've said that.
And this whole thing about being Spursy, Dr. Tottenham. This whole thing about being Spursy. Gavin said it on his post about the amount of. Sorry, I'm going on a little tangent here, Chris. You forgive me. This whole thing about having, dropping so many points from winning positions, and we would have been second or third. I think that's a whole thing with this club, and I think that teams think, even if they go a couple of goals behind, it's Spurs. And I think there was a game where we were like 3. It wasn't the West Ham game where we were winning like 2 or 3. And then we drew or we lost the match. And I have a load of Arsenal fans on a forum. And one of them said on their WhatsApp group, "Don't worry, guys, it's Spurs." And they were absolutely right. So this ethos of being Spursy, this is something that's got to change. So I'm completely deviating. I do apologise. Yeah. This whole thing about being Spursy as well. So, I mean, having said that we should beat Sheffield United, it would be fucking typical for us to lose to them. Of course it would. Of course it was, because we're Tottenham.
Well,
sorry.
I said earlier, we're 8 points away from the top 4. The top 4, for me personally, it looks, to be, it'd be a miracle if we get top 4. However, we could go 5th Sunday evening with a win against Sheffield United, and if Liverpool lose or draw against Manchester United, we will go 5th. In this crazy season, Darren, we could be 5th with only 4 games to go.
It's unbelievable. It's this. I mean, this season's like nothing we've seen, is it? It's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm just looking. They've lost their last 4 matches. If we can't beat them, for God's sake, we're in a world of pain.
Lee, how are you feeling? Listen, no, it's the same old story, isn't it? When they say, what was it the other week? They say, they haven't drawn against a side for so many years and all the rest of it, but they're playing Tottenham, so bam, of course they're gonna, and and it's just what happens, isn't it? I'm not confident at all. I'm going to be honest. I'm not confident. They're relegated. They've got nothing to worry about. Nothing to play for, have they? They might as well just go out and have a go. Fair play to them, and that's what's going to happen. They're going to come out, they're going to have a go, and they're going to try and get some pride and some winning mentality going back down to the Championship, so that they can continue that in for when they come back. That's what they're going to do. So Ryan Mason's got to have a real think about how he sets out this team and what he's going to try and do, because otherwise it could get even worse, and we could end up sliding even further down and making it look a complete hash. And the reason why we're still only in a position to get to 5th, it's not about us being able to cling in there and really fight for it. It's because everybody else is shit as well. No one wants to be in the top 4. So they're like, no, you have it. No, you have it. No, go on, you have it. And and that's the only reason we're there. Not because we're doing anything special. This has been a terrible chat for me, because I've just been so negative and miserable the whole way through it. We're going to start losing subscribers now. That'll be it.
One thing is for certain is that we're on at 7:30. It's a bank holiday Monday, so all 4 of us will be blind fucking drunk for the kickoff.
I might just carry on watching Game of Thrones. I've never watched that before, so I'm watching Game of Thrones, and I might just watch Game of Thrones and just forget all about it.
Lee, at the start of this, I toned it down on all of the stats here, because you're absolutely right. When a player hasn't scored for a whole year, they score against Spurs. When a team hasn't, when they haven't won for about 3 months, they win against Spurs. Why is it about Tottenham and all of these ridiculous stats when we play teams? They always seem to get that win. The player who never ever scores seems to score against us. What is it about us?
It's because Alex Ferguson said, "Don't worry, lads, it's only Tottenham." As soon as they started telling everybody that, everybody gets the mentality, "It's only Tottenham." They're soft. They've got a soft underbelly. And the truth is, are we joking about it? But the truth is, it's right. You know, we get nervous as fans. So if you're, as a fan, sitting at home, I was watching a game. I can't remember the game I was watching. And we scored first. And I'm watching a game with my boy. And he went, "Oh, you know," and he gets really excited. And I just went to him, "Don't worry. Don't get too excited. Let's wait until the game's over before we start cheering," you know, because as Tottenham fans, you know, if you're winning 4-0, right, and there's 3 minutes to go and they score a goal and you're down to 4-1, if you're not sweating on it, then you're not really a Spurs fan.
Yeah.
Right. So if we feel like that as fans, you can't tell me that the nerves don't get into them players. I'm sure that it's nerves. It's here we go again, and everybody gets into that mindset. That's how I feel about it. Either that, or someone's put a proper hoodoo on us, and that's it. You know, you'll never win anything again. Bosh.
Isn't it weird that this is inherent all the way through the teams, no matter what the manager, no matter what the team? It's that what you were saying, Lee. It's the Spursy thing. It just runs all the way through the club.
Yeah,
bizarre, isn't it?
It is very bizarre. As you say, Darren, don't matter who the players are, who the manager is, what era it is. It just seems to always happen to us. It's very weird. Craig, how are you feeling about the Sheffield United game? Surely we should be battering Sheffield United.
Yeah, we should be. Just going back on what Lee said there, the amount of times this season when we've been, it was a Man U game. We started it, you know, the 6-1. We were like 4 goals in the lead. And I said, it's not enough. We need another one. It's not enough. It's not enough. And it's a kind of running joke in our house now. As soon as we go if we go 2-0 up, my boy Jack, he turns around and says, it's not enough. We need another one. So he's 13. So you're right. It's inbred. You know, both my kids are with it. Oh, well, it's 2-0, 3-0. That West Ham game, that done me because of where I live. All my mates are West Ham fans, more or less, and I knew it. That felt like we lost the game. I'm sure, same as everybody else watching it. That was the. You say about low points, Chris. That for me, I felt suicidal. I seriously had a knife very close to my wrist because I could not get over that. That was just that was Spursy. Sheffield United. Yeah, we should be. I sound like Gareth Bale, don't I? Yeah, no, definitely. We should be annihilating them. Let's be fair, but the way this season's gone, I can't see it. I think we'll win. I'll give you my score prediction when you ask for it, but I think we're going to win, and I think we're going to go with an attacking lineup, and that's all I can say on it. Because if we can't beat them, like Darren said, you know, we might as well give up and go home. A relegated team, you know. Come on.
Do you know what, Craig? All joking aside, it's scary, isn't it? How, you know, when Tottenham have a bad result or they don't play very well, it's scary how down a lot of us fans can feel. Yeah,
definitely. And you know, as I've got older, as I've stopped playing myself, and especially during lockdown and this past year, always been into me football, always been into me Tottenham and following them. But I think now more than ever, over the last couple of years, I've actually got into it a hell of a lot more. And it's actually meant more to me, especially this last year. Because let's face it, all we've had, a lot of us, is football. When that football was cancelled due to the first lockdown, there was nothing, was there? None of us knew what was going on. We never knew where the world was going to go back to normal. And football and sport in general was a kind of release, wasn't it? And to have the football back in June last year, and it was like, wow, you know, you suddenly realise how much it does mean to you. And a lot of people say, oh, there's more to life than football. And yeah, there is. But it's a massive part of my life, and it's a massive part of all our lives. And it just goes to show how much it does mean. So, you know, those players on the pitch, all the millionaires running around kicking the ball around, means so much to so many people, and it can affect people's lives. I'm not overestimating. You know, I know there's bigger things in the world. You know, I'm not saying that, but it's a massive part of all our lives, and it's depressing when your team's doing crap. And it's depressing after you think your team have had a wonderful transfer window, and I'm going like this to all my Arsenal and West Ham mates, and all of a sudden we're shit again. And You couldn't write it. You couldn't write it, and you either cry or laugh, Chris, didn't you? So yeah, we should beat Sheffield United anyway.
I'm just thinking this has been an excellent Spurs chat, or like a therapy session, because all three of you have been swearing like troopers tonight. It's been fantastic. Darren, let's come to you. Final question for you all. Sorry,
Chris, how do you feel?
How do I feel? Do you know what? You don't want to know. That's why I haven't made very many videos this week. You know, I've been so down about it, and like I said, Darren, I think that it's probably this week where I've just thought, you know, what the hell is going on? And I've sat on the fence for most of this season. When loads of people have turned around and said that they want Jose Mourinho out, I've sat on the fence. I've said that I didn't want Jose out and I didn't want him in. I didn't know how I felt because, you know, what is next? And I still feel exactly the same, even though Jose Mourinho's gone. I don't know what the best thing is for Tottenham next. And like we've all said on this chat, and we can go round and round in circles, you know, you bring in a new manager, is he going to be backed? If he's not going to be backed, we're going to be going around in circles again. All I want as a Spurs fan is to be winning trophies. And every time, you know, on every video that I ever make, you know, I mention that same old line, 2008 since we won the last trophy. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous stat. And even before that, we waited for a trophy. So I just think that the club is in a very, very sad state. And I'm just feeling very down, Darren. That is my honest answer. And it's been great. And I love doing these chats with you guys because, you know, we do have a laugh and, you know, we do put, you know, a number of things to bed and we do, you know, have it all out and we discuss it, which I think is great. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think that the fans deserve a whole lot more and a whole lot better than what we get as Spurs fans. Last question for you all. Score prediction for the Sheffield United game and where you think Spurs will finish in the Premier League at the end of the season. Darren, you want to start with you?
Go on then. Well, let's say a nice cozy 3-0 tomorrow. Spurs, obviously. Let's. So and then 53, 54, 55, 56. That'll take us up to 5th, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 games to play. And I mean,
we've got Leeds, Wolves, Aston Villa, and Leicester. Yeah,
I mean, they're all winnable. That's the thing. They're all winnable. I mean, go on. I don't know. I mean, go on. Let's say 4th. We won't get 4th. We'll probably get 5th or 6th. But you know, we'll probably get 5th or 6th. I would think. Say 5th.
I agree with you, Darren. I'm going for 3-0 and I'm going for 5th as well. I agree entirely with you. Lee, what are you going for?
My name's Lee and I'm a Tottenham fan. It's funny because I was going to say the same. You know, it depends on what team he puts out. But I'd like to see us get out there as a 3-0. I think we should. I think now we're in a situation where top 4 is out of the question in my mind. So I think it's a case of let's get the players out there, let's get them playing with some freedom and try and win some games to put some pride in. So for me, I was going to go with a 3-0, and I think we'll probably end up either 5th or 6th. You know, if we're lucky, and again, a lot of it depends on other teams' results, to be honest. But that's how I feel about it. Yeah, Craig.
Yeah, I'm going to finish the video in a positive frame of mind. I do think tomorrow's game is a big game, and we'll see how we're going to finish the season. I think it's entirely possible. And I'm going to go for a 3-0 win as well. I think we're going to go very attacking tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised to see Son, Kane and Bale and Ali on the pitch tomorrow. 3-0. And I think I'm going to say we're going to finish 5th because looking at the other teams around us and the games they've got, especially Liverpool tomorrow, it's possible. It's there if they want it. I don't think we're going to get 4th, but I think we could get 5th.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to end with a positive. It really is. And it's been great chatting to the three of you. Darren, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Craig, thank you very much as always.
Thanks, Chris. Darren, can you do a quick impression of, I don't know if you do him, Adrian Dunbar out of Line of Duty? Can you do him?
I can't. Do you know what? I'm probably the one person in the UK that hasn't seen an episode of that. I'll tell you what I will do. I have noticed that every time Glenn Oddle speaks, it's like he's narrating a porn film. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Never watched one.
As I say, he's the lad's come in behind, and he's put a ball into a wonderful area. And as I say, he said to his mate, "Go on, you get on the end of that." And he's come inside, and you have to say that's a wonderful finish, as I say. So be happy with that. There you go.
And Lee, thank you very much indeed.
No problem. Anytime. If you want to be depressed, come and ask me. Come on.
Any impressions, from you, Lee, before we go?
I could do an impression of a sleeping man. That's
Thank you very much, guys. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Up the Spurs.
Go you Spurs.